So some of the most important resources that we need to elicit and implement in our lives and the lives of our children and our students include, let me just ramble about some of them. One is safety. We have to be creating safety for ourselves, for our children, for our students. So whether we're an educator, a parent, a healer, or we're just doing this for us, the most important thing that we have to create is a sense of safety. Now, that's obvious. Now that you know that it's this animal brain that's highly activated in a fight or flight response, feeling like they have to defend themselves, well, the safer we can make that brain feel, and the more we can ensure security and safety to that part of the brain, the more we can convince that brain that it's gonna be okay, it'll be safe, we're taking care of you, right? Then the less activated it will be, the more it will calm down. And when that part of the brain calms down, then this neocortex that we want our children and ourselves to have full access to, that comes back on board, you see. So safety, how do we create it for ourselves? You know, just as individual adults in trying to create safety for ourselves, we have to learn to set boundaries. We have to learn how to be in relationship with ourself first. So as far as boundaries go, right, we have to be really good about saying no to other people and yes to ourselves, because we care enough about ourselves. There's enough love that we have for ourselves that instead of saying yes to everything out here that just depletes us and robs us and renders us in that I can't, I'm overwhelmed, this is too much, in that place, we have to get really good about setting that boundary to be in first relationship with ourselves and whatever divine, whatever source we can connect to, right? So whatever you believe, there has to be a connection to self and to the source, you know, your source, whatever that is, that feeds you, that you're in communication with, that you're in relationship with, that makes you feel connected to something that's larger than you, that's bigger than you, that's benevolent and loving and kind and gracious. So it has to start there, right? Relationship is the most important way to create safety. So our children have to know that they can be in relationship with us and we're not going to be this big scary thing that just keeps throwing them back into a shame state, right? Or throwing them back into a place of I can't, or wanting to give up because they, you know, they're never good enough for us, right? We've got to really show. Now, how do we do this? We don't do this with our words. I hope that's becoming more and more obvious. Words mean nothing to the animal brain. That brain doesn't speak words. So we can't talk at our children who are stressed and traumatized, who are highly aroused, who are scared. We can't talk at them or to them or with them, whatever you want to say. They can't hear you. They can experience us. They experience us. They care about the tone of our voice. They care about our facial expressions. They care about our body language. They care about the tension that we're carrying. They care about the flow. You know, they're picking up. See, if we don't have, for instance, the sense of hearing, then what becomes keener? All our other senses, right? Anytime we lose a sense, our other senses become keener. Think about children who largely have an animal brain, the limbic brain, and some of the neocortex. Well, they speak the language of sensations. So they don't speak the language of words very well. They haven't mastered it, and if they're living in a chronically stressed or a traumatized state, they have very little access to it. Well, when they don't have one language, the other language becomes very keen. So they are picking up on their sensory experience of us like you wouldn't believe. They're soaking it up like a sponge. So we can say whatever we want to say. They're not hearing our words. They're picking up on the truth of our body language, our facial expressions, of their experience of us in a sensory way. So we better be really certain of how we're entering the room, right? How we're showing up, right? Are we taking a few minutes before we open the door at the end of the day, let's say, if we're living in a, or in whatever situation you're in. You're not with your child and then you're about to be with your child. Take a minute to stop and ground yourself. Get in relationship with you. Find your calm and your place of peace before you enter the room and enter into relationship with that child, because wherever you're coming from is exactly what they're going to be picking up on and running with, right? So that can't be overstated. So it starts with us, relationship with ourselves, getting our own healing in whatever way we have to, setting really good boundaries so that we're taking care of ourselves first. If we are not in our zone of optimum arousal as an educator, a teacher, or a healer, we are useless to children. And we're useless to ourselves when it comes to trying to heal ourselves, right? To work on our own stuff. So safety, right? And doing this through relationship by creating boundaries. How else do we create safety? We have limits. We have rules. We have consequences for when rules are broken, right? This isn't about a free-for-all for everybody, right? We have to raise our children really understanding that there are limits and that boundaries exist and that they need to feel them. We need to contain their energy. We need to help contain it. There's nothing scarier to a child than a free-for-all, right? Like zero containment to all this arousal and energy and woo, right? And they're out just, right? They can dissociate with that. They can get swept away with that. They can not feel the ground underneath their feet, right? It's a really scary place when we just leave them with all kinds of energy that we're not helping to contain with some limits and boundaries, some consequences for, really important rules that we pick our battles, right? We don't shame them. We give consequences with compassion, even with joy, from one human to another. Not, I'm great and boy, you have problems. Let me, hand down the consequence to you, little one. But coming at them as, oh, yeah, I struggle with that too, right? And this is what I do to help myself when I can feel myself going out here. I feel my feet on the ground. I breathe in through my nose because that stimulates, the relaxing part of my nervous system. I fill my belly up with air like a balloon because that stimulates the relaxing side of my nervous system. But this is what I do. I look at the birds, I listen to the birds, I see the trees, I feel the breeze blowing. It has to be sensory. It has to be sensory. So we have to be doing it for ourselves and then sharing how we're doing that with our children so that they're growing up learning how to balance out all that high arousal with sensory experiences that ground them, right? Listen, joy and excitement and vigor and fury and all this stuff is fabulous when it's grounded. And what grounds us is what's sensory. Anything that we can experience through our five senses really grounds us to the here and now. We have to help them do that. So we have to do it for ourselves first, show them how they can also do it for themselves. So this is also how they come to feel safe with us, because they see that we're relating to them as one human to another human, as a fallible human to another fallible human, that imperfection's cool, I'm imperfect, you're imperfect, I'm figuring it out, let's try to figure it out together. But also this idea that I am leading you. This isn't you're leading me or you're leading yourself. Children need to be led by a healthy nervous system that's balanced, by someone who's self-regulated and in an optimum zone. They need to be led, and they need to know, we're here taking care of you. And I have figured this out, or I will figure it out, but you just leave this to me. This is my job. And really communicating that reassurance to them that they're going to be okay, and we're going to lead them into that place of feeling more okay and feeling safer, right?